Hey Gateway, this is Pastor Jason, and thank you for joining us for Gateway Midweek. We're so excited that you've invited us into your home. And I'm especially excited because of what we're going to be talking about this evening. You know, a huge part of Gateway is invite, connect, develop, and serve. We talk about that each and every week here at Gateway Midweek. And you know, I wanted to just pause real quick, invite, connect, develop. This last Sunday, Pastor Lance led us in a develop class where you get an opportunity to discover kind of how you're wired a little bit and your spiritual gifts and what those are. And it was just really cool to sit in on that class and watch individuals kind of discover for the first time of like, you know, there's depth to them and what they're passionate about and the things that God has wired them to do and wired them to think and how they can use those things to grow in their faith, but also to serve and lead others. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today is serving. Why should I serve? Why should I help others? Why should I get involved? Why should I make the focus about other people and not myself? And so those are all great questions. And I can't think of a better person to help unpack those questions than my good friend. This is Jen Eskridge. And so, Jen, why don't you talk a little bit about what you do here at Gateway, maybe share a little bit about your family and just, yeah.
All right. So, yeah, my name's Jen Eskridge. I'm the guest services director here. So outside, if you've ever been to one of our outdoor services, you get to see a lot of people. Recently, we've employed some big signs that say we've saved a spot for you. And that team is our greeter team. They hand out our programs. They stay in the connection tents and answer questions. Some of them are handing out kids resources, taking offering. Like I said, just answering questions and being a friendly face on Sunday mornings, and that is our awesome guest service volunteer team that I get the privilege of working with every single Sunday. And then my family, my husband is a teacher. His name's Ross. He works at Redwood High School, so he serves our community and our students there. And I have two kids, Jade and Sawyer. Jade is going to be 7 next week, which is a crazy, crazy thing. And then we have Sawyer, who is 4. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, you know, I've talked with Jen a number of times about serving and what does that look like, and I know Jen and her team, they do an amazing job each and every week as we are meeting outdoors. But then, you know, as we're starting the process of what it looks like to reopen here within these next 3 or 4 weeks as they come up, we'll be talking a little bit about that a little bit later. But yeah, and so, you know, I've often heard, you know, a number of times during the sermons and different conversations, Pastor Ed has made the comment, you are most like Christ when you are serving. And I just have always loved that mindset and love that kind of point of view. And it just reminded me of Mark 10, and it's the end of Mark. And we see this picture of 2 disciples, James and John, and they go to Jesus and they're asking him, you know, what do we need to do to sit at the right hand of the Father? Like, what do we need to do to be kind of your kind of 1 and 2 guy, you know, number of guys? And in fact, you can read about that story in Matthew, where it gives even more detail, where it says that James and John, their mom came and asked Jesus, what do my sons need to do to sit at the right hand of the Father? And so, you know, so again, it's just an interesting question to ask. And we pick up here in verse 41, it says, then the 10 other disciples heard what James and John had asked, and they were indignant. They were very upset, you know, and I think that, you know, that they were upset maybe because not only because of what they asked, but because maybe they thought, man, how come I didn't ask that question? You know, I want to be next to Jesus in heaven. And so Jesus called them together. He used this opportunity to teach. He calls them together and said, you know that the rulers in this world lord over their people, and officials flaunt their authority over those under them. But among you it will be different. Whoever wants to be a leader among you must be your servant. And whoever wants to be the first among you must be the slave of everyone anyone else. And I love this verse here in 45. It says, "For even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve others, and to give his life as a ransom for many." And so again, God is never going to ask us to do something that he hasn't already done himself. And so, Jesus makes it very clear, like, if you want to, be a part of all of this, you've got to put others ahead of yourself. And know that I set the example. I set the standard of what that looks like. And so as we serve, as we do those things outside of ourselves, we are the most like Christ when we are serving, because we're following his example by putting others first. And so, again, because of Jen and what she does and her role here at Gateway, I thought it would be good for her to share, because again, we talk about invite, connect, develop, and serve. What is the vision of serve? What is the why behind serve? So we can get a better understanding of what that piece of Gateway's purpose looks like. And it helps us launch us into how we get plugged in and how we do those things. So
I first have to say, like, that was such a mom thing to do, right? To go and be like, hey, can't they sit right by him?
Yeah. I've had my mom speak on my behalf a number of times, but that's a counseling session and not a Gateway Midweek. So.
But, I think the thing is we often hear in the church, we need to serve like Christ. And that's a difficult thing, like, to understand. How do we do that, right? Mm-hmm. And how do we apply that in our own lives? Outside of Sunday morning or in Sunday morning, right? And we always talk about getting involved and serving on Sunday mornings. And so obviously on Sunday mornings, like I just spoke about, we have roles of ushers and greeters and, obviously, like I said, handing out kids resources. So we've had kids ministry come back inside, which has been awesome. And so there's, the needs of volunteers in that role. But while each of those roles, like, is important, and of course it helps our church function, like, we would not be able to do anything if it wasn't for volunteers, right? And we want to continue, like, the church being somewhere where we can engage and be welcome and grow in our knowledge of God. It is, like, difficult to understand what that application is. And so serving like Christ here at Gateway, obviously, like you talked about, our mission and purpose here discusses empowering and engaging a ready world with the hope and joy of Christ, with the purpose of invite and connect and develop and serve. So what it looks like, and Mark says that each of us is to put our daily life and our own interests behind, and so far behind, in fact, that we're consistently meeting the needs of everybody else. And I think that what this really means is that it's allowing God to use us to experience him in a greater way, right? And so it's not necessarily, putting everything else aside, but it's putting God first and saying, how can you use me? How can you use what you have given me, what I like to do, and the things that are available, and kind of boldly stepping out in that, right? And saying, okay, like, I see that there's a need here, and maybe it's not something that you've ever done before, but, it's difficult to learn about yourself. I mean, I know it's just trying, right?
Yeah.
And trying to see if it's something that you like, which is so awesome, like with the Develop class, where you can learn a little bit more about yourself. But we never know how we will experience God while he's using us in the lives of somebody else. And so that's really what serving is all about, is experiencing him in a greater way. Yeah. And I think that serving really is kind of outside of Sunday. I mean, we want to get involved on Sunday mornings too, but what does it mean Monday through Saturday? And how are we impacting our community? And how are we impacting our schools and our workplaces, our families? And is our lives, as Jesus commands us, one in which that we are not first, but we're last, and we're following the examples of Christ, and using what we have to lift up and help everybody else around us.
Yeah. That as you were sharing that, I thought about just serving and what does that look like, and I remember when I spent some time in Washington working at a church in a little town called Moses Lake, and I remember we got there that week. And the first Sunday they said, hey, why don't you just go ahead and take the Sunday off, and you can maybe hit some other churches, and just kind of check out and see what the community's about, And so, but they also had a serve day that Saturday morning. And so that was my first experience with the community and the church, was a service opportunity. And so me and my son Nathaniel, which was I think second or third grade at the time, we showed up, and they basically said, here's a trash bag and a shovel and a broom, and they sent us to one of the elementary schools to clean up the parking lot. And as we cleaned up the parking lot, we prayed for that. And just that thought of just like, this was my first interaction with the community and with the church, is doing something that has nothing to do with me, right? It has everything to do with just, man, we're just going to clean this campus. We're going to when we did, we used the broom and we shoveled all the, pushed all these leaves together. And, my son, in his, interesting way, we scooped those leaves up, we put them in a trash can, and then we spent time praying for the students. And these were people we didn't know, right? And so, but just that experience, of just putting others' needs above yourself, and then experiencing that with my son, experiencing that for me, because it just showed me the fact of how big it is, and how impactful it is when we put others' needs besides ourselves.
Because it wasn't about raking the leaves, and it wasn't about cleaning the parking lot, right? It was about the students that were going to come there and have this better space. And so it goes far greater sometimes than what we see as these menial tasks, right?
For sure.
It's not about,
Sure.
like you said, the sweeping of the leaves, the raking, whatever. It was the experience that you got to have with your son, and what God was doing in you, but the greater impact on the other side of that for so many people, right?
And I think it also points to the fact, and you'll probably share about this here in a little bit, is that when we think about serving, we think, well, I don't want to be up in front of anybody, and I don't want to be able to, be on video, on a microphone and talking. Those things freak me out. And so, but there's so many different ways that we can serve. There's so many different things that we can do. And sometimes we have an immediate impact as far as, when we're doing something with other people, like maybe when we're working with kids, or we're working, within the community, and we're really interacting with individuals, and we can see the immediate impact. And there's other opportunities that we just serve, and we do the things that we're asked to do, and we may never come into the contact with the person that has a positive effect on. But I don't think that's what God calls us to do. I think God calls us to just put the needs of others first, and just to do that. And He doesn't call us to results. He calls us to obedience. And I think that's so key when we think about serving, when we think about volunteering. And the other thing that I wanted to share just briefly, and I see this, why I think this is so important, how working with others makes everyone better. To just brag on Jen a little bit, I love when we have an event, when we have a service, when we, my first experience of it was at our Christmas Eve service. I believe it was Christmas Eve, and then just circling up all those that are volunteering, and circling them up, and just, man, giving them a huge, like, here we go. Let's focus up, and just this kind of bring everybody circle up. We're still kind of physically distanced. We all got our masks on, but man, we're going to encourage each other, because man, we're going to serve God right now, and how exciting that is. And just this whole cheerleading, man, you pump the crowd up. With just those little small circle. And I'll tell you what, man, I was ready to take on the world, and just that excitement of just working alongside of others, right? Because when we do that, it makes each and every one of us better. In Ecclesiastes 4, it says, 2 people are better off than one, for they can help each other succeed. 2 people are better off than one, so they can help each other to succeed. There's things that God has called you to do, but He has not called you to do it in isolation. He's called you to do it with others. If one person falls, the other can reach out and help. But if someone who falls alone is in real trouble. And man, I've talked to individuals even this week that feel that sense, especially in the time that we're in now, that they feel like they're alone. Yeah. They feel like they're discouraged, and and they're going through things alone, and they can't seem to get out of this kind of pit of despair. And I've encouraged them. It's like, who are you meeting with during the week? Who are you connecting with? Who are you doing life with? Those are the people that are going to help you and help pull you up when you fall down, and vice versa. You're going to be able to help others that fall down, help them pick up that are in real trouble. Likewise, two people lying together can keep each other's warm. But how can you be warm alone? Again, there's that mindset of like, we've got to take care of each other's needs. That it's so important. A person standing alone can be intact and defeated, but two can stand back to back and conquer. Three are even better, for a triple braided cord is not easily broken. I'm often reminded, I'm a huge basketball fan, and I maybe have shared this story before about a player named Kevin Garnett.
Oh, yeah.
He used to play with Minnesota Timberwolves. I had a couple of chances to see him play in person. Amazing athlete and extremely passionate. I can't tell you some of the things that he yelled as he was playing on the court, but he was very loud and passionate about what he was doing. But I heard in an interview when they were talking about when he was playing with the Celtics and they're making their championship run, how he said, there was 3 or 4 guys, on the team that, man, they were there for each other. And on any given night when one person maybe wasn't doing the things that he normally does at a high level, somebody else to the left and the right stepped up and filled in those gaps. And they were there for each other. And he said it, man, you're only as strong as your weakest link, and that importance of working as a team together to accomplish a goal, right, that is bigger than you. And that's what he was talking about, is that we're going to serve each other and we're going to lift each other up through this process because we're doing something that is bigger than ourselves. And so doing that with other people is what makes us better. And so I know, Jen, you're going to share a number of ways. We want to give you tangible things to do, right? Like, we don't want to just sit here and read God's word and encourage you and say it's important to serve, but we want to give you opportunities to do that. And so I know you have many things that we can get plugged into immediately and help serve and stuff. So if you want to share those, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, definitely. I just have to elaborate on something that you were saying, though, and talking about being, together, like, that's kind of what Develop would be also for, right? Because when we learn about what's best about ourselves, we can also learn what's best about other people and how we can work together, right? And I love that because that's what the process is of a team. And honestly, that's what's such the privilege of those kind of circle up moments with my volunteer team is seeing like all the things that they're good at and the ways that they, go out and get involved. So some ways that you can get involved, not only at GateWay. First of all, I want to talk about in January, we did a food drive. And that was a way that you all got involved, which is awesome. So if you're thinking, man, how do I serve? That was one way. If you donated food, man, you served our community in a huge way. And so thank you to Lacey who put that together and all the people who helped out with that team. There was over 4,700 pounds of food donated to the Visalia Emergency Aid. And that is absolutely incredible because that's a huge need right now. So that is one of the ways that GateWay gets involved with the food drive. But the Visalia Emergency Aid specifically is a great place that you can get involved here in the community. You can call them up. They are always looking for volunteers. Visalia Rescue Mission is another place like that. Child Evangelism Fellowship, they go into schools and reach the children for Christ. And they're actually doing that through Zoom right now, which is awesome. Cool. And then there's the Good News Jail and Prison Ministry. That's another one that's going on here in our community, and I'm sure that there are several others. But right here at GateWay, things that are going on, ministries that always need help. Our youth needs help. I know Sam Nicholson and Nathaniel Serrato would be more than happy to accept volunteers, I'm sure. And I know that our kids ministry, as we get some of those classes back online, well, actually offline, that's a good thing. That's the first time I think we'd said it in that way.
Yeah.
But they would appreciate some volunteers as well. So you could reach out to Jen Folks for that. And we also have MOPS, which I know there's lots of opportunities for moms to get involved here. And then, of course, I'm going to plug for my own thing. If you're interested in serving on a Sunday morning, we would be more than happy to welcome you into guest services. And I'm sure that there's lots of other ways to get involved volunteering here if you just want to give us a call. And if you're interested in learning more about yourself, definitely the GateWay Develop class. Because, you've got good, perfect gifts that God gave you, and we want to teach you how to use them.
Yeah, I mean, just hearing those things, I mean, there's so many things you can get involved with, and in each and every one of those things, some of those things, like, let's say with like serving during a Sunday morning service, or serving like in youth ministry with junior high or high school, there's so many different, opportunities within that. Some are going to be dealing with students directly, but other, it may be just running security once a month and making sure kids are safe. Maybe it's simply, hey, you know what? I love to bake cookies, and so I'm going to bake cookies for this small group once a month as kids get together. And so ways to serve like that. Again, on Sunday morning, just, making sure that people have communion when we do communion, making sure, simply holding the sign that says, "Hey, we have a spot for you," and I tell you, we've talked about masks, and we've worn masks for so long now. There are certain individuals that I can tell that behind that mask is the biggest smile. You can see it in their spirit. And there's some of you out there that, man, all you need to do is hold a sign that says, "We're glad you're here," and just smile as big as you can behind that mask, and it makes a difference. Like, people feel like, man, this is a welcoming church. Like, I love to be here. And so we think that those aren't very big things, but they are. Those are the things that when you put those things together, God continues to do amazing things through that. And so like Jen said, if there's any of these things that you think, what, I would love to get plugged into, I would love to serve, or I'd love to just give it a shot, maybe just spend a couple of months, trying it out and see if it's something that works, man. We would love to have you part of the team. So you can give the church a call, 559-732-4787. You can email us. You can go to the website. There's ways to connect there. And so it is so important to serve. I just can't tell you enough that you are the most like Christ when you are serving. And so, I don't know if you have any final thoughts or things as we kind of wrap up here.
Not that I could think of. I think, we covered everything. Like you said, God gave us a purpose, and He gave us these gifts, and I want to see everybody use them. And I think, I'm learning more and more about myself, the things that I'm good at and the things that I'm not good at. And as you step out and you try something, you might see something that, you come in and you try something, and then that opens a door for something else that you may want to try, and that might be your niche. So test it out.
Yeah, for sure. You make GateWay better, when you're doing the things that God's equipped you and called you to do long before you were even created. God has put something in your heart, gifts and talents that He wants to use. And so we want to encourage you. We want to equip you and resource you in doing that. And so, man, we love you, GateWay. We are looking forward as the weeks unfold. We really want to encourage you. Every Tuesday at 3 o'clock, there's a GateWay update where Pastor Ed shares just kind of where we're at. And so we've got a lot of information that's going to be coming out in the weeks to come about, the reopening of the church and what that looks like and the options. And I can't believe it, as we get closer to Easter and the things that we're going to be celebrating and doing. And so, man, just so excited for that. And so, man, we're going to continue to connect with you because that is what we do. And so thank you for joining us tonight. Jen, thank you for being here. I know there's a lot going on, and so taking time out of your busy schedule to be here and share your heart is huge. And so I just appreciate you and your family and what you do here at GateWay, and it's just awesome to be friends and to serve alongside of you. And so, hey, GateWay, have a blessed week, and we will see you soon. God bless. Take care.